Thank you for joining me today to discuss the two types of objections people hear when selling insurance, mostly when selling life insurance. Before I begin, my name is Alen and I'll introduce myself later. Please visit meetingobjections.com to get your free report what every insurance agent needs to know about meeting and handling objections. So, let's begin. What are the types of objections? It would be out of the question, of course, to assign any objection to a definite group and to prescribe a way of meeting that objection. When your prospect says, "I cannot afford it," he may mean, "I don't want to waste time talking to you, buddy." In other words, your prospect can use this statement as a way of ending the conversation with you, either over the phone or when you meet with them face to face. He may, on the other hand, wish the life insurance, but he raised the objection because of a mortgage on his home, which must be lifted, not realizing the important part insurance would play in covering the mortgage if anything happened to him. Then too, he may be just simply dead broke, and his financial condition will obviously constitute a problem to the sale of any kind of insurance, not just life insurance. It is only through your experience to learn and actually to analyze what has been said previously over the phone or in the face-to-face meeting with your prospect and his and her wife, spouse, and from the behavior of the prospect that you as an insurance agent, you can determine how to classify any given objection. So objections as they occur in the sale, they may be grouped roughly as excuses or reasons. And reasons can be imagined reasons, or maybe they could lie to you, and I have to tell you that people lie. I know you're shocked, I'm shocked too, but people lie and they will create imagined reasons not to buy just simply to get rid of you. And there are also sometimes real reasons. Maybe they're dead broke, they cannot qualify, they are not healthy, etc., etc. Today I'd like to talk more about excuses and how to handle them. And in my program actually I'm discussing different ways how to react to phone resistance and also how to handle the most common objections. So I have enough insurance, I don't need anything, I need to speak to my wife, I need to consult my wife objects to insurance and stuff like that. I'll give you, in my program I'm giving actually lots of scripts exactly what to say and how to say it. And also I'll discuss today the reasons, imagined or real reasons. Excuses. So excuses occur most frequently as simple put-offs at the beginning of the phone call or appointment, or if they interrupt the sales talk later, they are offered to cover up the prospect's actual reason. If you walk into your prospect's home or their office if you sell business to business, and off the bat he says, no, I simply cannot afford it, I'll meet with you but I will not buy anything, I don't need any insurance, thank you, or I'm too busy to think about it now. He hasn't really considered the subject at all. The remarks are part of his defense reaction against the intrusion, especially when they learn that you are a salesperson. That's the initial resistance. It is much better not to argue about those excuses, if you can help it, of course. The prospect himself realizes that they are only partly true, but if you bring up reasons to show him that they are not true, he feels bound to bring up reasons to defend his stand and ends by believing the statements himself. You need to go around them, around excuses. One clever agent I know stated that he can overcome most trumped up objections by writing the most common ones each on an index card with an answer to the objection on the same card. And so that when the prospect hurls out an objection, he smiles and says, "Let's see, that's objection number 4, and here's the answer." For example, a written answer to the ever-recurring, "I don't need any insurance," could be, "You don't, but your widow will." It serves to divert the mind of the prospect rather than to attack his statement, and switches the line of conversation to the track where you want it. If he says he's too busy, for instance, don't argue the question of whether he's really too busy or not. Get around the objection by, "When will you be ready?" And from his reply you can usually tell whether to put him in the class of worthwhile spending time on or not worth having. Or other way to say it, prospect or suspect. Suspect is someone who's just wasting your time and nothing ever is going to happen. So if he's in the worthwhile class, he will usually react to a little friendly courtesy and give you an appointment at least. Excuses of the more general type, such as I don't need it, or I don't want it, or even I cannot afford it, if they occur in the to be or not to be point in the sale, where actual opposition will be indicated by specific reason, usually indicate that the prospect is covering his reason by this kind of excuses. If, for example, you quote a premium and he thinks the charge is really excessive, the objection that he offers is a statement of his opinion. But if your prospect comes out with a no, I cannot afford it, after listening to you, he probably has an unstated reason for not taking the insurance which he's covering with this excuse. And it's up to you to find out what the real reason is. Of course, you can ask him the reason, but do this only as a last resort. For having made a statement, he will probably insist that it's a statement of fact. It is much better to employ the suppose method and trust to luck to find out the actual reason. Here's the script. Suppose, Mr. Prospect, you had a mortgage on your house. Wouldn't it be a tremendous relief for you to know that the obligation would be met if anything happened to you? And the same applies to any kind of financial obligation. If you wish, we could arrange to postpone your payment for a certain period of time in case you can't have this added expense just now. So, in this case, you answer the possible objection before it has gained force by actual statement on the part of the prospect. Now, let's talk about the reasons briefly. Imagined reasons. A prospect may be perfectly sincere in his contention that he sees no need for insurance, that he cannot afford it, that other forms of investment will better serve his interest, or in whatever objections he raises to the purchasing of life insurance, for example. He may have weighed the question carefully before deciding to be negative about it. In many cases, however, even when the prospect himself really considers that no need exists, that he cannot afford it, or sees some other obstacle, his negative response is due to an improper comprehension of the subject. However, we are fairly safe in saying that a person who takes enough of his time to disagree with you offers a good selling opportunity, because, I'm saying this because his objection usually gives you information which aids you in completing the sale. If the reason offered by the prospect betrays an incomplete comprehension of the subject, they don't understand what insurance is doing for them, the insurance agent is given an opportunity to bolster up his possibly weak sales talk or presentation. A person wouldn't take the trouble to tell you that he preferred to create trust fund for his wife and children if he really didn't consider that to be the best way in which to leave money to them. But at the same time, he gives you an opportunity to present the case for insurance. If, for example, he says, I prefer other forms of investment, you shouldn't proceed to run down all forms of investments. You need only to say something like this. Yes, Mr. Jones, you can get much higher interest, and if you could be sure that you could see your young son not only reach his age of majority, but launch on a successful career, I wouldn't want to talk to you. But you know as well as I do that you have no guarantee that you will be alive next year, much less 20 years hence. Now, my proposition simply enables you to guarantee in any case to your son right now exactly what you would do for him if you were alive and able to look after his material welfare. My message is, the more you know about life insurance, how it can be used, how it compares with other forms of investment, the better will be your chances of meeting objections which represent the prospect's actual convictions. If a prospect prefers trust company administration, and you know what you're talking about when you discuss trust company versus life insurance company administration, you have a fighting chance at least, which you do not have if you can't talk intelligently on the topic. Now, client is really more interested in leaving his family well provided for than you are, and if you have a case and can state it clearly, like I just gave you a script, he's not likely to let all ideas stand in the way of the better plan. But you need to educate and provide them more information. Your role is not just to sell, but to educate people of the benefits of having a life insurance policy. And if client says no, it does not mean no forever. It just simply means no means they are not ready yet. You need to provide them with more intelligent ideas, information, how they can benefit of having an insurance policy. Real reasons. As far as we are concerned, it is unnecessary to devote much thought to this type of objection. If your prospect is unable to pass the necessary physical test for life insurance, if he is unable to pay for the insurance that he needs, or if circumstances are such that he actually doesn't need and doesn't want insurance, it will obviously be a waste of time for the insurance agent to push the question further. Be certain, however, that the statements of the prospect represent real reasons rather than excused or imagined reasons. Make sure that when people say, no, I don't need insurance, if this is said in the first 30 seconds of your phone conversation or call, for example, it does not mean they understand what you offer. It's a simple phone resistance, and simple people resist to change, people resist to salespeople, and it's up to you to go and actually fight against this. I know it's not the right word, fighting, but you need to overcome it by asking questions. And more examples of that I have in my modules, where I'm covering lots of good stuff of all the mistakes that actually insurance agents are making. Please visit meetingobjections.com and get a report what every insurance agent needs to know about meeting objections. I just want to leave you with one idea that should stick. You should stick with it in every single occasion when you are speaking with a prospect. The best possible service to the community rather than the largest possible commissions. That's the slogan under which every top insurance agent works. Give the best possible service to the community instead of thinking of your commission. And please go to meetingobjections.com and learn what every insurance agent needs to know about meeting objections. Thank you for listening. And briefly about me, everything I'm sharing with you comes from experience. 20 years in sales, 10 years in sales training and financial industry. My approach is rational, no-nonsense, practical approach to selling. I was recently voted number 2 on the list of top 50 most influential people in sales, one of the top 25 sales influencers. I invite you to visit my blog www.alenmeyer.com, where you can get more articles like this and also learn how to meet objections and how to handle objections and how to be more successful in a sales insurance role. Thank you for listening. This is Alen Meyer, and see you soon.